And here we have it, the Audacious. I've had this for a while now. Don't mind the music in the background. Just some classy 60s music for you all out there. Something for you to appreciate. So the Audi here for upgraded Tempest fighters, or whatever they bloody call. I don't recall, to be honest. Something ridiculous speed dragons. Why? So we have the same rocket, torpedo, and carpet bomber loadout. The main difference being that compared to the black one, with the HE bombers having 41 mm penetration. I can't show that. Yeah, so they have 41 mm of HE shell armor penetration, which is a big upgrade over the 32 of the black one, because that means you penetrate battleship deck, which means you can actually use battleship, or the dive bombers, level bombers for their intended purpose of burning the crap out of battleships. We have the same nice torpedoes, 6000 alpha. It's a triple set now instead of twins, and they converge. I'll show you that in game. And then rockets, we have the same 28 mm penetration rockets, but we have 14 rockets in each payload. So the Audacious rockets are a bit strong, shall we say, considering they're very precise. So let's take her out for a spin. Now I've played this Audacious a fair bit, as you've noticed. I do have the fully upgraded planes. In terms of playstyle compared to the Midway and the Empyrial, she's much less alpha damage focused than either of them. She lacks a munition which really can deliver a heavy punch all at once. The Midway dive bombers, for example, can hit for up to 22,000 HE alpha if you get a full damage roll on an unsaturated target. Although typically it's closer to 15,000-ish per strike. The only way you can match that in the Audacious is with a perfect torpedo strike against a target with no torpedo protection. So typically your torpedoes are actually going to hit for around, like, let's say between 8 to 14,000. And then your rockets can, obviously, well, the rockets, they don't hit that hard typically. Usually between 3,000 to 8,000, somewhere in that range. But they're nice and precise, and they maintain a high 9% fire chance per rocket. And the level bombers, it's kind of hit or miss. They have a really large aiming reticle, even though each individual bomb hits for 6,000, and there's a whole ton of bombs per payload. 6 per plane. With 3 planes, it gives you 18 planes, sorry. My math is a bit rusty. But because of the large size of the reticle, you don't tend to hit that much. So overall, you're depending a lot more on your fires and floods than the other two carriers, who tend to pack quite a bit of a punch. So as I said, rocket planes, so you have 16 total with the deck space upgraded. You have flights of 9 and attack flights of 3. So a squadron of 9, attack flight of 3. You have a nice precise reticle, which does do the typical attack plane widening. They feel very Japanese in terms of angle, the attack planes. Once you have the target locked in, they're pretty stiff. They're nice and precise, and 14 rockets per plane by 3 gives you 42 rockets in the air. So even though each individual rocket doesn't punch that hard, only offer up to 2,300, so divided by 3 to get your penetration damage. So roughly like 800, let's say. 800 by 42 is still quite a bit of damage, potentially. Of course, you never actually get the perfect rolls. But you know, it does happen. Like versus this Minotaur, which isn't something I should be approaching, technically. But I could get lucky, right? And there you go, 9,000 on an unarmored target. Moving on to Salem. Alright. And their planes are technically more durable than other types of planes from the other nations. But don't go running into a Minotaur and Salem like that. Not gonna really bring you the results you want. So we scattered that side. Obviously we are top tier. I haven't even bothered looking at the lineups because I don't really care at this point. But for the sake of the commentary, we're against Midway. There's a Montana, Republic, Massachusetts. Gotta just untap to check for fighters. Des Moines, Salem, Minotaur, Zhao, Stalingrad. So pretty thorny AA lineup. The only real non-AA threats are the Zhao and Stalingrad, kind of. And as I was saying, if I press tab forever and stay in the fighter zone, well, that's pretty bad. I'm gonna evacuate some planes. And I managed to save my squadron because I went out of flight. So I went over the mountain and the enemy fighter lost line of sight. So here I can demonstrate nice convergent triples, especially if this Des Moines decides to turn it out for me. So you see that nice tight spread, and look, I can wave it around because it's British. Slowing it down, playing with his, might be a legendary module from what I can tell. Click for one, see if I can heal through. And then the nice quick army, British straight. So good handling overall. Now since we lost 3 torpedo bombers, but that's fine. I got 2 torpedo strikes on the Des Moines. So that this repo over here would be perfect target. It's coated 32mm of armor at the French battleship, so I'm using the level bombers now. They have 41mm penetration, 6,000 per bomb, as I said, so they could potentially do a lot. In the end, though, they tend to do pretty whatever in terms of damage, because as I'll show you, the reticle is extremely large, so you might not be able to tell from just looking out into space, but if I go over this island, this reticle is actually about the size of a GK, of a Grosse Curvers. So not exactly precision bombing, shall we say. Some smaller planes. So if I go over this Des Moines, for example, I'm gonna have to give quite a bit of lead. Oh, he's lining up his head. So you saw he slammed her 3 times for 6,000 damage, not bad, got some defended ripples. But you saw there, the reticle is quite large. You want to lock it in quite a fair distance away because you get the 30% damage reduction, and you have to give quite a bit of lead because they do have some falling time, which is quite significant. You can still steer the rest of the squadron while you're inside the drop line, but you do get priced into kind of watching your planes do their thing. So there's a Massachusetts out there, over here on the other side, that's quite exposed. So I'm gonna go after him. The Massachusetts is pretty nice tier 8 in that she has great torpedo protection and she's pretty maneuverable, so this could potentially be somewhat difficult to pull off. Not finding too much in the ways of air defense, although I probably should, I guess, provide some air defense to this overextended Des Moines. It's kind of hard to say though because of how overextended she is, and yeah, he just got punished, so kind of a low value fighter, but I'm flying over him anyway on my way to the Massachusetts, so I may as well. So the Massachusetts is getting pounded by something. I can't really tell because I'm not gonna look with HE. But he's gonna have to make that turn eventually. I'm hoping in front of me, but even if he doesn't, his converging corpse should give a nice punish. So his fighter locked me. And the point or sailor slow. As his defensive fire up, the fighter's caught up to me. Continues forward. Don't have time to look at that. Excellent. So 15 out of 16 fighters. So as you can see here, I'm just holding down Alt to check my reserves. I want to be launching squadrons that are close to full, so I guess I should have launched a carpet bombers in that situation. As my team pushes south, and these 2 guys I was thrusting at 8 earlier push north, I should pull away. So we have, oh, we actually have 27mm penetration. Okay, that's interesting. So 27 means that American and German cruisers, which have 27mm plating, are actually immune to our rockets on their non-superstructure areas, which means I should not go after any Des Moines clones in this match with the rockets, because they're not going to do too much damage. Stalingrad's covered with 50mm plates, so it's even worse of a target. Considering how close the repub is now, I should probably have launched the level bombers and gone after him, because it would have been a perfect demonstration, only besides Stalingrad for AA. But here I'm aiming for a superstructure, which, while not significant in size, well, not insignificant in size, it's a pretty difficult target. But there you saw 19 rocket hits for 9,000. So these rockets they're a bit disgusting, to be quite frank. Gonna listen here to the ferocious, well, relatively ferocious AA. That's fine, it's to be expected. If you look there, you can see that it's just a huge barrage of rockets heading for the Republic there. Our reserves are still pretty tame here. I haven't done too much damage. Haven't really been farming BBs or anything. Okay. We're gonna just demo on the Repub, which is covered in 32mm armor, which means he has 0 mitigation. Okay, we'll demo after going after the South. I really don't like him being so close to the cap. So you have a nice 10 seconds when you're doing the level bomber drops. Here I'm aiming ahead of him because he's going to slide in hopefully. Ooh, there. And there you saw no hits on a cruiser-sized target because the reticle is so large. Which does happen. Oh, Midway's dropping a fighter. Time to get out of here then. One hit out of 18. Alright. And the fighter on my tail. Now arms attack and just ditch. And I appear to have wandered into the shield doors over here. It's interesting. They're probably not meant for me, to be honest. I just happen to be beside a Yamato. We have no caps. No, I'm point. The team is getting herded into a desperately not that great situation because where's my last destroyer? Ah, he's over here. That is a question mark in the chat. Here, let's harass Des Moines. Pretty thorny AA target, but my torpedo bombers are extremely durable. He's turning out in response. So we turn behind him, pop my defensive fire. They are still pretty slow, so even though they hit pretty hard, you do have to take care when aiming. Oh, can't see anything. Yeah, that might not be forward enough again. Especially because there's slanted damage. Oh, crap. That certainly helps. Because even if I'm not getting kills, we need kills from caps. The South's in a full turn, so I anticipate hitting those. And then since I anticipate hitting those, I'm gonna go after the rockets actually. There, nice perfect drop. Nice and accurate, right? So a speed boost over, we didn't get flood or anything, but with the way these rockets are, you saw how much damage it can deal. Probably it should wait till the speed boost is over. Do that next time, wasting a bit of the drop a fighter over here, but I want to maintain fighter support. Midway should know I'm 100% going after the Zhao, but he can't really do too much about it. Even if I don't kill him. My teammates likely will. Oh, this might actually be too far out. Okay, unfortunately, I have the attack plane module. So all those rockets that shattered that you saw hit the 30mm middle there. Yeah, the super fighter here. And so that caused... Where's my last gas? That caused my own. Caused all my rockets to shatter, unfortunately. Okay, we're contesting 2 kills. bombers now. That's good. That's how it's getting away. That's bad. Okay, I'm gonna go after him with the level bombers just to try and finalize the kill. Don't have time to dick around when we're down 300 points. Good, we killed the last GD. Someone died. Not exactly perfect. Let's swing what's left of my squadron around. Oh, I got fired. So you can see the focus narrows quite quickly, moving quite slowly. One bomb at a time. You got a damage control, got this damage control. My planes are dying, so I'm just gonna go with one bomber. Not quite. Well then, let's go with rockets. No, I probably should not go into the midway fight. Okay, I'm gonna tank it. Probably turn towards the channel. There we go. Oh, you got defensive fire? That is bad for me. It's gonna be a bit of a Hail Mary, but we did it. Oh good, we're getting a recap. So if he wasn't up there and the caps kept ticking, we might still lose even if we kill every single one of them. Oh, I should actually stop. What's that down there? Stealth threat? I'm gonna help with that stealth threat. So I'm getting attacked. But I don't really have a choice, I'm trying to take B here. So I can start ahead of this guy, who does about the same speed as a battleship. I'm just gonna aim slightly ahead of his nose. So that they should slam him. Even if he turns, it's fine. The slowness of the torpedo is kind of making it difficult. Aim. Oh, it's rudders out. Just aiming repeatedly, taking damage from the enemy midway. It's only maybe. Okay. What's left of Montana? Alright, so because it's just the Montana left, I'm gonna just swing this way and stay in motion. So the Montana can shoot me at that range, but I need to stay in motion to help avoid the midway torpedoes. So our damage has slowly been climbing over the course of the game, as you can see. Sorry about the stutter of the frames, not sure what's going on there. I don't have the same armored deck as the other two tier 10 carriers, so I do tend to take a bit more damage. So those midway dive bombers can actually hurt me. Which is kind of annoying, to be honest. There are nice battleship-sized targets, still only 4 hits, dropping 18 bombs. Kind of disappointing. I think those shots are for me. Actually, I know those shots are for me. So I gotta not faff about. Oh, there's a bit of a whiff there. Fortunately for me, the Montana also whiffed his attack, so I guess we're even. I'm gonna launch torpedo bombers after this, so hoping for a fire. There we go. That's what the doctor ordered. hard cover now. He's shooting his last few shots at me. Hopefully I don't get dev struck. But even if I do, at least I got the torpedo bombers off. Nice, I survived. It's not necessary for me to arm the torpedo bombers out this far, but doing so allows me to get spread nice and tight like this. Because they're kind of slow, so you do want to lead. They're accurate and precise. Oh, okay, that's kind of okay. That's not the same thing. Sorry, science majors. Not trying to trigger you. They are very precise, but they are slow. So you need to kind of think about their placement a little bit. You can't just launch them willy-nilly and expect them to hit. And very quickly, once we started targeting battleships and Stalingrad and such, our damage just climbed. I'm just gonna go to the level bombers. Oh gosh. Not incoming. Move! Move, carrier. Me dying is actually very, very, very critically bad. Because I'm worth a lot of points. Okay, so 5k now. Then we get this kill steal. I mean kill. You know what I mean? Kind of. Okay, there. I must stay alive. He's going after someone else. So we've finally gained a slight points lead. I need to keep him lit for my teammates. So I'm gonna drop a fighter here. Oh, I should have armed the attack to get my air defense bonus. Being an attack run. I can't really penetrate the deck here, so I'm kind of going for the conning tower, but it's a pretty difficult shot. As you can see there, most of the bombs shattered on the deck, except for 2 which hit somewhere, I'm not even sure where. Versus enemy carriers, you really need to use your torpedo bombers. Versus the Audacious, it's a bit special. I'll show you once we're back in port, but I only have a middle deck armored strip, kind of down the center of the ship, and then the bow and the stern and the side flanks kind of around. The edges aren't actually fully armored, which is it's really too bad. I don't know why the Audacious randomly gets tucked in terms of its armor compared to its 2 counterparts, but it is what it is. Oh, my fighter's gonna die. The game's gonna time out though, I'm out of fighters. Maybe get one last strike off, 14 seconds, probably just one attack. So I'm gonna have to make it count. 8 seconds. Oof. And the captain out, just before the timer ran out. So not a bad game. As you saw, it was a bit slow going. When I was kind of just working my way into the match, my damage didn't really build until the very end of the match. So if you saw here, I was at like 50k or something about 7 minutes into the match, but eventually I did end up with 200,000 damage. So 19 torpedo hits, 40 bombs, 73 rockets. The 73 rockets looks kind of absurd, but if you think about the fact that each salvo of rockets launches 42 rockets, it quickly becomes evident that the accuracy isn't that great. Plane kills, 3 incaps, 2 kills, 6 fires, 3 floods, 5 defended, 1 capture, which is a bit out of the ordinary, 12 spotting, very typical for a carrier, a witherer, and a convict. So team score wise, we earned 2600 base experience, pretty decent game all in all. Now if we go over to the damage, we can see that we damaged a whole bunch of cruisers and battleships for most of our damage. So Stalingrad here, we hit with our torpedoes mainly, and that was towards the end of the game. The Zao, we had to level bomb for a bit, so we actually spent the most. We hit him once with torpedoes, that perfect lineup, and that actually did the majority of our damage to 12,000. And then afterwards, we went after them twice with level bombers, and the level bombers going twice with more passes than the torpedoes, because the torpedoes only got 1 perfect pass, if you recall. Only did 8,000, and that's kind of showing the inconsistency of the level bombers versus cruiser-sized targets. They really need to go against a battleship to get their fully optimized potential. You can still use them for fire starting and in circumstances where you need to go after someone immediately but you don't have the right squadron. You can use them against cruisers, but as you can see here from that damage number on a Zao size target with a GK size radical, you're not going to produce the best results. And then we finished them off with rockets. Rockets are pretty potent against most cruisers. But with 27mm of penetration, as I said, against Germans and Germans and American heavies with 27 millimeters of plating, you're not going to be able to do that. Apparently, we did most of our damage in Montana. So I think this is the same Montana that we were harassing along with the Des Moines in the north at the beginning of the match. But here you can see that floodings, he actually took quite a bit of damage, 32,000. And we mostly went after him with bombs and torpedoes. Again, it's the torpedoes, the excellent rich torpedoes that did the most damage to him out of alpha damage wise. He had to let some floodings tick, so in the end the floodings did a lot of damage here in this case. But yeah, 25,000 torpedo alpha and 15,000 bomb alpha, pretty respectable. The repub here took a bunch from fires and rockets, surprisingly. So it looks like we did 2 passes of rockets on him. Actually, that might even be just 1 pass and 1 fire. So yeah, you can see the rockets kind of paying dividends there. That's probably the 19 rocket strike. And then Des Moines here, damage from bombs and torpedoes. That's Des Moines in the north that we were harassing. The Mino that we first started, 15 rockets, 8,000 or 9,000 damage rather. So this is lightly armored cruisers. The rockets are extremely potent. They're relatively accurate for the size of the reticle. Like, the reticle looks pretty big, but you're shoving 42 rockets into the reticle, so it's pretty reasonable. And then a bit of damage into the Massachusetts. And as I said, on the midway we dropped him once and all our bombs shattered. So, just to reiterate, on the damage over time style, you saw there we used pretty much every munition there, and we got a witherer in the end, right? That's not quite as, it's definitely easier to get a witherer on the Audacious than the other tier 10 carriers. And as I was mentioning, the Audacious is a bit more fragile than the other tier 10 carriers. So if you look here at the armor viewer, we're gonna ignore the belt here, right? Because the flight deck is what mainly gets hit in carrier on carrier combat. So we still do have a middle deck of 102 millimeters of thickness, which is thicker than everyone else. But external to that deck, we only have 38 millimeters of armor, which means that midway dive bombers, midway rockets, both of these are going to pen this strip, which means also even Audacious level bombers will pen this 38 millimeter strip, which means attacks that strike here will still do full damage, and then the tips are just 25-25. So what happens when you shoot a midway from long range? If I can find my midway, where is she? Or a Hakurio, but I'm going to use midway because it's closer. Where is my midway? Sorry about that. So what happens when you shoot a midway from range of, say, a battleship, is that the shells arc through the air and they plunge and hit the deck usually, which is 87 millimeters uniformly. And so if they're hitting the front of your ship, or the back of your ship if you're running away, or charging towards them to kind of stay angled, this 87 millimeter deck tends to bounce battleship shells. But in the Audacious, you don't have that. You have the 25 millimeter deck, which means when you're running, and fore deck too, fore and aft deck, which means when you're running and charging, you don't get the bounce shells like the other two tier 10. See, Haku has a, I believe, 95 millimeter strength deck. Yeah, it's a uniform 95 millimeter strength deck. So you don't get that advantage. So I don't know why that is, but it is the armor scheme you're given. So just keep in mind that you're squishier than the other tier 10 carriers. Like, sure, you have 21 and 25 millimeter armor belts, and they don't. They have 19 millimeters of side armor or something. Right, yeah, so they have the main belt, but then the rest of their plating is 19 on the sides. But all in all, the Audacious is a squishier carrier. A squishier, damage over time focused carrier, but as you saw there in that match, it doesn't matter. You can still be effective if you know what you're doing. Anyhow, that was my Audacious overview. Had this for a while. I know it's been a while since my Flak video, but it's taken me a while to fix mic issues, get through stuff, get through stock planes, and get a decent game on the Audacious screen. But there you have it. Audacious. The Royal Flamethrower. Cheers.